Hi, I'm Teresa Kanan with Stitch and Tree Quilts, and this is the North to Alaska quilt. With the fabric bundle that you've received for the North to Alaska quilt that we're going to be using on the quilt cruise, I've included a packet of information for pre-cutting and pre-piecing. We're not going to be piecing all of the parts before we go on our cruise, but I encourage you to pre-piece the flying geese sections and the half square sections so it's less work to do. We don't have very many days at sea. So while we're at sea is when we'll be working on our quilt. And in order for you to get your quilt complete while you're on this cruise, you may want to do the pre-piecing. The first page will give you a website that you can go to on our website, a place on our website where you can look at all of these pre-recorded videos. On page 2, we begin with the cutting that you need to do for your trees. There are 5 tree fabrics, and the cutting is spelled out for each fabric. As I indicated in the video and in our instructions, you have 5 different fabrics and you can number them in any order you want to. Tree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It makes absolutely no difference because we have a plan for placing them in the quilt in a nice random order, just like they are on the mountain. You'll also note that you have instructions for cutting your grass units and for cutting half squares and rectangles of mount 1 and mount 2. In your packet, you have a mount 3 fabric. That is for the paper piece mountains. And you also have 2 more fabrics, mount 1 and mount 2, that say hold for ship. You also have the tree trunk fabric, and you'll cut those into strips along with this grass fabric and just set it aside. On page 3 of the pattern set, there's an indication as to how to construct your flying geese, and I have a video for that as well. And it tells you exactly how many flying geese you need of each fabric. Here's the grass. Sometimes you need flying geese of the mountain fabric because it's where the tree touches the mountain. Also on page 3, we begin with the cutting of our fish fabric. There are 3 different fish fabrics, but only 1 water fabric. And you can cut according to those instructions. We have a separate video that shows how to construct the fish units, the fish head and the fish tails, creating flying geese out of the fish tails and the top of the fish head, but it's using a square because we're working with very small pieces. And here the chart tells you how many fish bodies and fish tails of fish 1, fish 2, and fish 3 you'll need for your quilt. At the bottom of page 4, we begin with the cutting of the bird units. There are 2 different bird fabrics. There are 3 different sky fabrics. And the birds are the only part in the quilt where we're changing our sky fabric from one side to the other as we migrate from a light sky to a darker sky. So the chart on page 5 tells you exactly how many units you need to have made of the flying geese, just like we construct the trees, and there is a video for that as well. How many of bird 1 and bird 2 that have sky 1 fabric on both sides, sky 2 fabric on both sides, sky 3 fabric on both sides, and then bird 1 has a couple of birds with flying geese that have a different fabric on the left than it does on the right. And when I talk about left, I'm talking about to the left of the flying geese point, the bird head, and here is the right. And again, we have a video for that. And the very last thing that you will have is cutting of your star section. There is only 1 star fabric, and it does have a right side, but it's very hard to tell the right from the back. It doesn't matter really which side ends up in your quilt. We have sky 1, sky 2, and sky 3 fabrics, stars in each color of sky. There is a video that shows how to construct these half squares. And then the chart again tells you exactly how many half squares you need to have of each of those sky units. At the very bottom, there's additional cutting information for cutting the moon, the inner border, and your cornerstones. Again, we don't have your outer border yet. That's something you can shop for while we're on our trip. If you have any questions, just let me know. You can email me, text message me, or send me a Facebook message. I'd be happy to answer your question.